Greetings. Thanks everyone for joining. This is Hacking HR, the Athens chapter. And this is our second event this year. Our first event was back in the beginning of March when everything was so different. And it seems like, I don't know, many years ago already due to all the things that happened and all the water under the bridge. Just before we started, I introduced you to our esteemed speaker today, some logistics. So kindly keep yourself muted as we hear from our speaker. You will be allowed to pose questions to Anna as she finishes and we go to the Q&A section. There's two ways to pose questions. You can unmute yourself and ask, or you can use the chat box area and post them there, and we will review them and make sure your question is answered. So, like, let's some quick intro. Like, the world of work is changing, and this change lifts many of the barriers of the recent past. And we're here today, and we brought this topic because we felt that this is very timely to discuss the drastic changes of the workplace and focus areas that will make a company a winner nowadays, because this is a transformational period. And we have structured our today events with plenty of time for questions and answers. It will be more like an open talk and less than a rigid presentation or a webinar. So without further ado, please allow me to welcome our speaker for today, Anna Mamalaki. Anna is an organizational transformation and HR consulting director at Biz Human Aspect. She's included in the Thinkers 360 list of top women B2B. She's a change management expert. She's a member of the board of the National HR Association in the Silicon Valley. She's joining from the States, and she takes over projects that are linked to transformation and change. So she's very knowledgeable about how change impacts companies and what companies can do to survive. She now lives and works in the Silicon Valley in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's very far, and yet with technology we can be together again closely. But she's from Athens. She's from Greece. She's one of us, so she knows how the Greek market especially struggles nowadays. So Anna, thank you very much for being with us. You are one of my professional role models. I'm very excited that you have accepted our invite.
Thank you very much, Stella. I mean, thank you for the introduction. I can hear background noise, yes.
Please, I would like to ask for everyone, please, to put themselves on mute, because we can hear some background noise. Markela, I don't know if we can mute centrally. Thank you.
Thank you very much, all of you, for first of all for making the time. I think that there are numerous of things that you can do today, but yet you have selected to join, and I mean that is really a huge honor for me. I would like to tell you that I'm involved with Hacking HR 2 years now, right from the start, all over the globe, mainly with the Silicon Valley chapter and the San Francisco one. But I mean, yet being with the Athens chapter, it feels so different. Because I'm with the long-time friends here, and the fact that I know so many things about the Athens market, so it feels so different. Thank you very much for having me here. I would like to say that today we have selected to speak about change, and it's not only that I do work with that, but I have lived change myself pretty much. All my life, because I've changed 3 continents up to now. And lately, I took the leap of changing continent at not a very young age, which is not always easy. Yeah? So I think that if anyone knows change at an individual level, that could be me. And then at an organizational level, I do work on that, and that's my thing. So it's a proper really topic to speak about. So we're not going to talk about that because it is being done. We're going to talk about that because it is very decisive what we will do at these moments. Um, it is decisive not only at a personal level, but also at an organizational level. Uh, these days, I mean, the most important, health is at great risk, and we have all of us changed our behaviors in order to preserve our health. At the same way, we need really to change our behaviors in order to preserve the health of the organizations as well. So uh, the economy is very much shrinking. We see that. At the same time, there are very vital demands about social justice. While most of the places, remote work is prevailing. So this constitutes a very different work environment that we have ever seen, and everything changed in a heartbeat. So we were obliged really to switch to remote work just on the fly, and that was really tough. There were companies that they were thinking about remote work for years and trying things and systems and so on, and they had to do it in just a day. So I would like to say that we really need to have not just the systems, the technological systems, I mean, but also we really need to have other things in place. I would like, before we open to questions, I would like really to um, create a picture that we have really a holistic approach to what we need to have in our minds in order to really address how to pick up these changes in a most efficient way. And I have selected the word efficient because in this period of transformation that everything is being reshaped, um, there is a huge degree of influence of many different factors, but we need to be very much aware of what these factors are and how to tackle them. So in the today world, as HR directors, you really need to focus on organizational effectiveness in your strategic thinking, in your planning, in everything that you do. Not only because the economy is shrinking, but also because the resources are being changed and how you use them. I would like to say that around this organizational effectiveness is a full cycle of all the things that we do, how we run the organization, how the organization is being governed, what is the leadership that is being implemented, what is the people capability for running the business, how we execute all these things, and how this continuously improves in order to create a specific culture that fits back to everything that is being done. So this full cycle is the thing that creates the organizational effectiveness. But I will explain in more specifics, as I had promised, what I mean. This whole system is being influenced and fed every moment by the outside world, which is the customers and the external stakeholders. Um, an example of external stakeholders is the need to have social justice, for example. An example of customers is a new need for our product or a new feature. Uh, all this system works for the purpose that we exist as an organization, as a company. This late time, we had focused a lot on the execution part. Since March, that the stay-at-home order was in place, and we were ordered to take everything and go home. And we did order people to take their laptop and go home. This is not really remote work, though. So, but during this time, we had to do a lot of migration plans. We had to really to do a lot of redeployment redundancies, a lot of legislative compliance because a lot of laws have changed and we had to adapt into that. We did a lot of support for our people and a lot of morale maintenance in order to support them in this new situation, in this new reality. And yet, it's now time to also focus on the other parts of this circle. And by doing so, we need to focus on the people capability. We need to focus on the things that have to do with ensuring that they have really the right skills to do new things that are required. in this new world that we communicate virtually, how do you really incorporate the cues that you want within the minimum body expressions, body language that we use? How you incorporate the messages within your email communications? Before, you could just present yourself and be there, but now you don't have the option. How we really create new career paths through a new redeployed kind of environment that people are working in different job contents sometimes. So it is time also to emphasize a lot how we govern our organization. In that thing, we need not only to think about the operational model, but we need also to think about the structure and the decision-making process. At this point of time, that a lot of work is being done remotely, decision-making has to be done in such a way so that things will move fast. These long-stemmed situation of the past that everything had to go up and then go down in order to be implemented within the organization, it's really very time-consuming for a remote kind of work. So I know, though, that a lot of companies are still under that. And it is true that a lot of companies also hope that we will soon move back to a co-located work environment. There was a SHRM survey here in US just a month ago, and it was showing that 65% of the employers in USA hope that we will go back to an office work environment and we will not keep working on remotely. Yet the situation is a little bit different. We're expecting that probably this will last longer than we thought. And for some job roles, it might last forever, because organizations, first of all, have seen that it's less scary than they thought that it is, and in fact, it is also efficient, and it has been also in practice proven that it might be also productive. So
not. Why not? Because it is beneficial not just for the individual, but also for the organization, minimizing costs that has to do with real estate, buildings, and also running them. So I would like to say that in this kind of environment, the processes, the way that we operate needs to be streamlined and much more lean compared to the past. And that is the organizational level. I would like to say that in order to run this kind of new environment, this kind of remotely operating company, you need to make sure that people are managed in the best way. In order to make sure that people are managed in the best way, you need to have in place the appropriate KPIs. You need to have a management system that will show them how they have done. It is true that in the past there is performance management system in almost most of the companies nowadays. Can you?
Yeah, sure. We can hear you.
the idea behind having a new type of KPIs is having KPIs that will be relying on expectations from the employee. Because in the past, what we were having was really performance management systems that were measuring the productivity that had to do sometimes with hours or with output. But in the knowledge type of work, you need to rely on KPIs that will be measuring the expectations that you have from the employee as the outcomes are to be counted. So in the old work environment, we could experience people working from morning till night at an office, not necessarily counting what is the contribution that they have. But nowadays, we really need to measure what is the contribution that they had, first of all to the work, but most important to the teamwork of the others, although they are remotely located from the others. So in that case, you need to devise specific KPIs that will be measuring exactly that, the contribution. So that is the point here. And I would like to say that everything that I say might sound wonderful, but yet, in order to do all these things, you need a significant mental pivoting. And that requires mental pivoting very much by everyone, but most important, by leadership. And leadership really needs to, first of all, get away from an antiquated notion of monitoring work, and that they think that this is the way for high productivity. We had the phenomenon of a manager that wanted his employees to have their camera on all day long while they were at home, so that he really monitors if they were really working or not. And this is a huge, really kind of old-fashioned management. You cannot really make someone work by just monitoring what he or she does. You can only inspire a person to work by giving him or her the motivation to do so. And getting from that old mind to the new mind needs a lot of work. And that is also an area that we need to work upon by, first of all, showing these in the mirror, of showing the mirror to themselves, to these people. The diagnostics help towards that direction, but also giving them the tools to develop themselves in order to understand that the new environment really asks that the managers do not provide the content of the work. That's not what we need them for. We need them in order to provide the context of work. And this is something that they need to change their mind upon. So in order to get back with these outdated management practices, a lot of work has to be done in that area. This kind of change, this kind of shift, mind shift, along with a new performance management system, will help us develop the behaviors that are required in this new work environment. In this new kind of environment, it's not only it's not only this, it's also the tools and the processes that we will implement in order for this journey to define our work towards organizational effectiveness. Everything is centered around organizational effectiveness, but you cannot really reach that if you don't have the tools. The tools are, for example, systems that we use, and more, and thankfully, operations are digitized, and that's why we can do things more easily. Yet, if we do want to introduce systems and we do not have yet established the processes and how to do things, then a mess comes around. Because I've seen organizations that really want to implement the systems without having clear processes how they do things, and they try with the system to really solve out the problem. I would just say that, I mean, a car is a technology thing, but yet in order really to take you somewhere, you need to know where you're going to. So the same thing is with technology. If you really want to achieve something, if you really want to do something, you need to know what you're looking for, what you want to achieve. So that is really very important. I would like to say that during these times, we faced a lot of hard times, and people are very much stressed, very much stressed, very much frustrated by the situation, having to stay at home, away from their beloved ones. And it didn't only need a lot of morale maintenance, it also needed specific kind of support, especially for the less privileged ones. because the less privileged ones are the ones that are much more exposed to health risks compared to the others, because they go to a production floor, for example, and they had to be exposed to the virus. And this kind of situation is really a call out for every company, what they do and how they do it. It is important for the company to understand that it does not really operate in the absence of its work environment. I speak about organizational effectiveness, but I never forget these 4 yellow boxes that I have put at every edge of this slide, which is the external stakeholders. I would like to very much emphasize that the company does not just produce the products or services that it produces. It produces much more than that. It produces mindsets. It produces influence in the society. How we do things, how we perceive reality is very much influenced on what we have to do within the organizations, within corporations. First of all, us as employees, how we perceive reality and how our family members perceive reality is very much influenced by the work that we do, by the principles and values that we're exposed to through our work. What is the expectations from life are influenced by the work environment. So, and this also spreads in the whole society. So organizations have a huge responsibility on really addressing that and making sure that they provide not just the equality, no, but the equity, which means that they give the opportunities to those less privileged in order to be at par with the other ones. And this is the tough part that some of the people might not get. But it is a civilized, it is a responsibility of the civilized world to do so. So saying that, I would like to say that everything can be done, but cannot be done. I mean, you can do everything, but you cannot do anything. So you really need to be very much focused on on what you will do, but also on how you will do it. That's why I insist very much on having a methodological approach in how you do things. I say that there are challenges on how to meet the change. And when you have a methodological approach, you really ensure that you have the readiness for the area that you would like to tackle. You really ensure that you have the sponsorship of someone that will really embrace the change and will work with you, or someone or some people. You really make sure that you have the engagement of the people that will be involved, and you do the communication, the appropriate communication and the training that is needed for that. If you don't have these things and you have not really built the business case in the right way, right from the first step, change will not happen. And it will not happen not because people don't want it or the organization does not need it. It will not happen only because you really missed to do something that had a significant influence in how things were implemented. And it's such a pity to do that. It is such a pity because everything is there waiting for you to happen. So why really don't do everything in a proper way? I would like to say that it is important to, I use also the ADGAR model that I'm certified. And in that model, we learn that you need to have people aware, really aware of the need for change. They have really to have the desire for it, that is really to want the change, but also have the knowledge how to go about it and the ability to do it. And then you just really reinforce how things is happening. And this is very much aligned with your project evolution, because In the beginning, you just, in that arrow at down part, I say that you just define the business need. It's where you build your business case. Then you design, you have the concept and the design that you sketch out. And then you start implementing, and you have afterwards the post-implementation effects. But this is very much aligned with these 5 steps of awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. When you work in a methodological approach, there is a sure success because there is no miss. Well, I'm very much in favor of systematic working and being very much methodological. Maybe it's my many years of working with engineers lately here, but also 17 years back in Greece, I was working with engineers. So it might left something on me. So I would like to say at this point that in change management, there are 5 steps that I use that I would like to share with you. Each of them has much more details, but I will just address them at the higher level. It is, what is the change strategy that you will implement? What is the stakeholder management and communication requires? In that, you can, for example, check what is readiness, what is the involvement, the degree of involvement. Here, you might really need to see what are the reworks on that. Then you need really to have the conceptual design and start really redeploying with the resources. That is the third thing. And here you really need to have by your side supervisors, people that are of influence and so on. At the fourth level, you really need to build the skills and have the knowledge and manage the already existing knowledge. Usually people know how things are being done. The only thing is really for you to pick that up and make good use of it. And last, you really need to have specific objectives for whatever you do, because there is no other way to measure your success. If you really divide your objectives right from the first moment, we're gonna do this until then, and we're gonna have that kind of improvement on that areas, and we're gonna see that thing. Because afterwards, you need to see, did you do that in that way? I mean, was that done within that time and within that parameters that you had set? And again, I mean, I don't mean to repeat myself. And again, of course, you always need to create the 5 steps that I've said. I think that this really sums up a kind of mental process that we need to use in change. But I would like to again pinpoint that the different industries that your company has an influence, a huge influence on how the change will affect it or not. For example, companies that are still less penetrated by technology, and there are some, might have a more slow move into the new phase. Also, corporations that they produce services compared to products, they have a different need of change. And in that case, for example, behaviors are much more of influence compared to anything else. Also, one thing to take into consideration has to do not only the industry and the kind of products that you have, but also you might also want to consider the internal factors as well. What is the culture, how people are used to doing things in a different way, and so on. So, for example, a culture that it is much more pro-governance, let's say a financial institution, might need to have a little bit different approach in change. So that was my introduction. That was not it was. And we can have now more specific questions.
Okay, it was very filled with insight, but I think if there's 2 or 3 key takeaway points from your wonderful presentation so far is that one, there's a change of mindset involved,
I
and we
can
need to
see in
be
the chat
aware.
that there are some comments and some
Yeah,
questions.
yes, we
But
will all address them.
before
Yes.
doing so, Stella, did you had any questions gathered before? I mean, did you had anything before we move to the chat?
Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Not sure if Anna is here. Can hear me? Anna, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear.
Anna? Ah,
Yeah.
good. Lovely. So,
Did you hear me before or not?
yes, we could hear you very well. I think you couldn't hear me. So, um, there are a lot of interesting points that we can take away from your presentation so far. But I think that if we try to sum it up to like 2 or 3 key points, is that first of all, there's a huge mindset shift that needs to happen before any actual change. I mean, in processes, in the systems, or in the way we do business happens. So we need to change the way we approach things, how we think about the need to change. I think that this momentum has convinced everyone that it's very timely to discuss the need to change. And I wanted to ask you, because there seems to be too many things on HR's plate right now, from the legal part, from the performance management redesign. Like, what should be the priority? What should be the focus for HR right now? Because organizational change is a complex issue. Organizations are complex breeds. There's many stakeholders can do many stuff. But to bring it home to HR, what's the priority for HR strategy right now? What should be? What do you think?
I like that because it really sums up a lot of things and puts everything into order. I would like to say that change is already here. And the only thing that we need is really to make sure that this change will get us out as winners. So we need really to use it to our benefit. I would like to find that magic button that you press and everything will become all right.
Makes two of us.
Yeah, there was a device, I wanted to buy something, and there was a device that they were advertising themselves that we don't have many buttons, we just have one button for everything. And imagine, even iPhone was really a success because of that reason. It was only one button for everything. So
you were deemed to push it.
yes, there is one magic button, yes. And that is really having an organization that it is very lean and agile. And that means really the processes. So having an organization that there is decentralization on how things are being done. And at the same time, people know very well what it is required from them to do. I'm very much aware that at times of risk and danger, usually organizations want to be centralized instead of the opposite. Yet, what I suggest is, let's say, decentralized centralization. What I mean is that having really the control and monitor of things by, for example, aligning a budget even to every individual. And this helps for the person to be empowered to do the job, but at the same time also installs a controlling system for everything. And don't tell me, I mean, that this cannot be done, because I've seen it being done from hotel grooms in a specific hotel chain, that he had a budget to work on for doing his job every day. So everyone can do that, and everyone has the ability to really manage that. It depends on us as a company to make sure that we trust. I would like to visit that element, because whatever you do, whatever KPIs you put, you start with trust. If you don't have any indications that you shouldn't trust the person, why not really trust the person that will do it? You give the person the tools You give the person most important your trust, and everything will be all right. If the indications are that this doesn't work, it's okay. You can be cautious about it, but not otherwise. So I would say that the button is really on the processes.
So you visualize a leaner HR, which is focused less on, trying to micromanage or control, and more of a let things laissez-faire in a specific framework, facilitated and empowered by trust.
Yes, because even within the methodological approach of change, what we're trying to do is we try to have a board, program managers that are from all over the organization. You don't do things yourself. It's not the maestro that really plays the viola. It's not the maestro that really plays every instrument within the orchestra. Every different person is the knowledge master of the music that he or she plays, but yet it's the maestro that orchestrates the whole thing. So what I say is that, and this is the new context of really leading and managing things, you really need to influence and orchestrate how things will be happening, but you don't need to do things by yourself. And that is a huge difference.
I love that analogy. I have a thing with analogies, like HR being the maestro of organizational effectiveness. So the second point that you touched, which is very, very close to my professional heart, is reskilling. You mentioned we need new skills, we need new competencies in this new, revamped, changed world of work. Why is reskilling so important to you?
Well, one reason is that you really need to have your people capable in a new world environment. In this environment remote work will stay for a certain percentage to the very least. As I've said, we really need to develop new behaviors and develop also new skills. So you have all the people that they need to know how, for example, to communicate virtually. You have people that they need to use technology that they didn't use before, hard skills. You really need leadership to start this mindset change at last. You need really people to help them see how things need to be done. And allow me to say that as technology gets integrated more and more into our everyday work, a lot of redeployment is happening. So we will take people from one thing to the other thing. This creates a huge need of reskilling. So I believe that reskilling is a function by itself within the corporations.
So what got us here, what we knew and got us here, is not enough to get us there. This is what I hear you say. But there is a lot of work to be done, surely. And this I promise, because I see many questions on the chat. This will be my last question, and then we will open up to our guests and our viewers. So there's a lot of work to be done. But where do we start? I mean, time is limited. You said we can't do everything and we can't do anything. But if we had to start from one place, what would that place be? What do you suggest?
Thank you for that. I will revisit once again that having a systematic methodological approach will help so that we don't miss things from what we will decide to do. This is important. The other thing is that really working very smartly. The focus of what will be done will have to be very much related, as I've said, to the industry, to the product that we have, or the services, or to the kind of environment that we have to, the economies that we're being exposed. What is the projection of these economies? This is very much influenced by all these things. But in order to work smart, I would like to visit back the thing that I've said before. We can't do things all by ourselves. We need really to be prepared to chop down the work and really share it. Inside the organizations, if there are people that they are really willing to have the opportunity to develop themselves by being exposed to different kinds of their work, And this is at the same time something that will keep their interest, will develop them, but also will do the work for change. So it's not you as an HR director that you need to do all those things. There are so many people that might be willing to take over a chunk of it. And also divide the work and send it out to gig workers. There are people out there, and I've seen it very much in the Silicon Valley happening, that they can do bits and pieces and parts of the work, or they can do the project management for you, or the program management. This helps a lot because you don't need to be up on everything. So you don't really have your mind scattered all around in so many different things. So I say that it's the tactics and that you will use for making that happen that will help you not to do everything, but at least will help you do those that is really needed. I would say that making things simpler is always the focus. Making things simpler is always the thing that you should start from. And that's why I emphasized a lot as a button, simplifying the processes and the decision-making systems. A lot of companies have too many levels of authorities. So these too many levels of authorities make things complicated. I know that in certain cases, this is considered to be power, and that's why it exists. We can transition that mindset about power in other things and leave that out. We can give power to people if they want it in another way and take that out. So this helps the equation being solved out smoothly and with a better result for organizational efficiency.
So don't try to do this all on your own and be the superhero HR, but be a super effective HR that is able to delegate and orchestrate and look for strategic alliances within the organization. I love that. Okay, so let's open it up to our beautiful participants. Let's start with Angeliki Pico. Angeliki, you raised your hand. If there was a question you wanted to ask and you wanted to do this not through the chat, please unmute yourself to ask Anna.
Hi, Anna.
Hi.
Chatali here. I'm from India.
Oh, okay. Hi, Deborah. Yes, please.
Hi. Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, yes, you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, so you have mentioned about the lean organization in Greece. So is it only happening in Greece, or is it overall in the world the organizations are lean? Like which type of organizations and industries according to you are operating in a lean business model, like how it is?
I didn't use Greece as my model. I used this as a way to do things for all the organizations. And I've seen it very much with technological companies in the Silicon Valley, having a linear organization. And although huge organizations with thousands of people around the globe, they still have decentralized way of working and more agile systems. So it's not a model that it is country specific. It's much more a model that is company specific.
Okay, so it depends on the employee size also?
It depends on everyone. Whatever you do, it depends on everyone. But the most important, that's why we're talking about the stakeholder engagement. It is important to understand what is the degree that every stakeholder has for involvement and how you can tackle every different part.
Okay, internal and
Thank you,
external
Deborah.
both. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Deborah. Angeliki Pico, just in case you didn't hear me earlier, got a question for us? You had raised your hand as well. Okay, so next questions from Yanis Kanutos. So Yanis is saying, Anna, that most organizations have realized that during lockdown with heavy remote work, performance of staff was not really affected. So no harm down there, no problem. Hence, they are not keen on approving a management initiative launch. What is the best way to persuade them?
I love this question, Yanis. And I love it because it really goes to the fact that we need to build a business case. And you already have the first card for the business case to be built. And that is, if you really have an environment that has not been really affected, although everyone was at home, and everyone was at home really frustrated by a work environment that they had to take childcare on their own, homeschooling, and at the same time, at least two adults at home working and being in meetings and children going around. So the conditions were really tough, but yet the employees were concentrated and efficient in their work, and that was not really affected. Usually what the reply by the managers is yes, okay, Anna, I see that they were equally efficient, but they were equally efficient in an environment that was less active because of the economy being less active during the shutdown. The answer to that is really take the numbers down. You really need to be able to take the numbers down and show them that the economy was not really so much shrunk during that period. And the turnover, the sales turnover was at par with the periods of last year, not that much lower. And although we would have been expecting, for example, to have a diminished productivity, we have not. And you really need to be prepared with some financials to really build your case. And also you need to build your case by exploring what other companies have been doing. If other companies really show the way, this might take people to this journey, because no company is really a fool.
I love that no company is really a fool. Deborah is also has also asked, is change agent a skill set for all this COVID scenario? So what is a change agent, the way you see it?
Uh, First of all, a change agent can be anyone within your organization. So anyone can become a change agent on many different kind of things that you will be implementing. What we really want from an HR director is being the change orchestrator, the one that orchestrates the change. And then you, as the orchestra maestro, you can find the agents within the organization that they can help you out into that. These can be the program managers. These can be really the change advocates for what you're looking to do. These can be the sponsors that they will embrace the project or the program that you will be doing. Yet, what we require from you is really to be the change maestro. You don't have to be a change agent by yourself. It's not only you, it's everyone that can be involved into that. And especially those instrumental and influential ones that you can pick up.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you. So Deborah, that answers your question. Some really nice comments. Thank you for the nice words. We're really happy that you find you find our talk valuable and you like it. Nicholas is commenting that agility is a key skill for everyone right now, like the ability to continuously reevaluate priorities and pivot oneself and one's organization. And I couldn't agree more with you, Nicholas, right now. Even if agility and being agile is a buzzword, it's all over the world right now. But I think that the core notion, you've grasped it correctly. So one more question from your old friend Petros Mijos. So what do you think is the impact of remote working on culture and engagement? Are we the work we do for a company, or do we belong?
I love that, because I wanted to touch that and I forgot. In this work environment that everyone is at the coziness of their home and they don't feel and breathe at the office environment, engagement becomes very much important, because in the past, how we were one important aspect of engagement is entering the office and seeing the logos and everything, and walking down the corridor of the offices and breathing the colleagues' laughs and talks and everything. So this was the feeling, that was the community belonging that we had. And now we're just isolated in our homes, and this community belonging, where is that?
We're nomads. We're scattered all over the place now.
Yeah, yes, but we're still connected with the what? With the purpose. So that is the important element at this environment of remote work. So if all of us, I mean, imagine all of us now, I'm 11,000 kilometers away, but we're still under the same mindset right now, because we're trying to do the same thing. But imagine if this is sustainable and we all of us, different continents, but we feel and breathe the same purpose. Do we really feel and breathe it although we are at home? Yes, then we are engaged. And yet, this remote work will not have an effect. But in order to achieve that, you need systems that will take down this big purpose, the things that need to be done on a strategic level to every different individual. You need to take the full goals of a corporation down to every single person in a meaningful way, so that the individual understands how he or she contributes to that big thing. There are systems for that. Kaplan's Balanced Scorecard is working towards that direction, that can help towards that. At the same time, you incorporate a lot of these purposefully doing business. And I would like to add one more thing on that. In order for every person to really feel and breathe the purpose of the company, that person needs to understand the purpose as something meaningful for his or her own life, and really needs to see from every company that works for, to tackle not just their profits, to also really address the bigger needs. So we want to be part, not just of a company that makes money for the shareholders. We want to be part of a company that really cares about the people that they are sick, really cares about the people that are not privileged, really cares about the people that they are really not favored compared to others, really favored parts of the society. So I guess that in that case, although the work is remote, people are really engaged.
You connect everyone, and the sense of belonging happens through the sense of purpose, that everyone's aligned, where we know where we're going. I love this. And one more question. Maybe this will be our last one. I don't know. We will see. So Yana is asking, who do you think has a bigger influence over leading this journey of change? HR, managers, other functions too within the organization?
All.
Who do you think has bigger influence over leading this journey of change? Like HR, the managers, other functions too within the organization?
It's all of them. So it's not the influence comes not from the title or from the function. It comes from speaking the heart and the mind of those that they can really do things. So if you really taking the journey with you, those people that they want to do things, then you had really exerted the influence. It doesn't necessarily have to be the HR. It could be any person, any manager. So the power comes from influencing those that they can do things. And those that they can do things are those that they are not hindered by any barriers. they have the mind power and the will to go over barriers that might be raised as obstacles in their way, go through them and continue. Not in an aggressive way, no, in a very kind and very benevolent way. But yet, boundaries are not there.
So everyone with the right mindset who has something to bring to the table should just bring his or her best self to embrace and facilitate this change. That's what I hear you say, I think.
Yes,
Okay,
definitely.
and we have, yes?
What is needed is really having the right sponsor. So if you have really taken a sponsor for the project, a person that has the power within the organization to really change things, a CEO is usually a very good sponsor, for example, then you can make things happen. It doesn't have to be you that you have the power.
Just find someone with the right mindset, or try to instill some of your mindset to him or her.
Yes.
So, okay, one last question. I'm not sure I can produce your, I can say your name well. Excuse me for that. It's like Oyinda Molafolabi. So, is effective change management the key to achieving efficiency in our new world of work? So, if we manage to do change management effectively, does that mean we're efficient at the same time?
There is no doubt that for efficiency, you need to be very much effective. So you need to produce results in that meaning. You need to produce results. Yet, I would like to say that producing results by itself is not enough, because the results might be towards the wrong direction. The results might not be taking into consideration factors that might be very significant in order to be efficient. So I would say that that's why I insist very much in having a systematic way of doing things. When you have a systematic way of doing things, you don't miss elements that might have a significant influence in the results and in the direction that the results will take. Results by themselves are not enough.
And you need to have the people with you along the way, because you may be producing results and have people, like financial results, for example, and have people burned out in the way. So,
That is
all
what
right.
most important is really to produce efficiency, not just results.
And I love that, producing efficiency, not just results, as a core idea to take home as we try to change and prepare and help our organizations as they pivot through all this changes coming our way. Um, Anna, thank you very much for your time today, for your super insightful presentation, for your charisma, for being you. I'm a fan of Anna. I'm not going to hide it. So thanks to everyone who has been here with us. There will be a recorded session uploaded on the Hacking HR website and on the Hacking HR YouTube channel. But also feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn if you have any other questions that you want me to pass to Anna. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for
And
having me. Thank you very much for that. It was an honor to see all the friends. And if we stop the recording, I mean, we can say a Greek hi to our Greek friends before we hang up, although we're almost
yes,
at the top of the hour right now.
yes, Markelos, just stop the recording for now.
So, I mean, I would like...
And some Greek from us. Kalispera. Ναι.
I'm gonna switch in Greek. Θα ήθελα να ευχαριστήσω πάρα πολύ. Βλέπω πολλούς φίλους που δεν ξέρω...
Γεια σου, Ανά.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, Anna.